think one of my regulars is the antichrist. I've been a shift lead at this beat-up coffee shop off the interstate for almost a year now. It's one of those areas where every fast food chain you can think of clutters around the exit ramp for a chance at enticing weary travelers. Neon lights paint the pavement day and night, fading into single-story suburbia once you venture far enough away from the highway. It's in the middle of those neighborhoods and the eternal glow of chicken sandwich advertisements that I clock in almost every day at 5 in the morning. Working in a place like this, you remember every face you've seen twice. Almost everyone you meet is on the move. You know you'll never see them again, and they know the same about you. However, the people you see more than once are like family. They inhabit those surrounding houses and do their part to help keep our lights on. Some of them are assholes, most of them are pleasant, but they are all, at the very least, normal. Adam, however, is his own category. Every Sunday for the past month, I've been able to count on him being the first one through the doors, often just a minute or two after I unlock them. I'm always by myself for the first hour, and I know it'll just be Adam and me for the time it takes him to order his Americano with 2 sugars, pay, maybe share a few words, and leave. Other than that last time, he was never anything but kind and cordial to me, but there was always something about that guy that filled me with unease. Sometimes I could feel it in his words, or how he looked, or by his impossible perfection. The first time he showed up, though, all I felt was annoyance that I had to do my job as soon as I opened. I was stocking the espresso beans when I saw him through the windows. It was still dark, but the fluorescent glow of the gas station across the street illuminated his approaching silhouette. It was rare to get a customer that early, but to get one on foot in the middle of January and walking from the direction that leads to the interstate was completely unheard of. I didn't want to look weird staring at him through the glass, so I pretended I was busy until the chime above the door rang. When I heard the bell go off, I looked up with my customer service smile at the ready, but was immediately caught off guard by his appearance. Mind you, I am a man who has always considered himself straight. I've only ever dated women and only ever been attracted to women, but I immediately thought this man was fine. Absolutely smoking hot. Wavy black hair faded down the side of his tanned face into a jaw that cut me just looking at it. He had hazel eyes that sparkled like cola, and a gentle smile peeked from the right side of a perfectly trimmed mustache. He wore a long brown suit jacket open-faced, displaying a pristine white dress shirt neatly tucked into fine pressed black pants. Where I would normally have given a half-hearted hi or welcome in, I simply stared as he casually strode to the register. He hadn't taken his eyes off the menu since he walked in. I quickly realized I hadn't said anything. "Anything looking good for you?" I asked, too quickly. "How's your espresso?" he replied, eyes still fixed on the menu. "It gets the job done, for sure." His eyes glided from the menu and met mine in one smooth motion. His subtle smile extended left. "I'll have an Americano then. 2 sugars, please," he said. "That's $2.30, boss." He reached into his jacket pocket and produced 3 singles and 3 dimes, placing the extra $1 in the glass jar labeled, "Thanks a latte." As I began running the machine, he turned around and stared out the front windows, letting his smile fade while taking in the total emptiness of the morning. I became painfully aware that I'd forgotten to turn the store's music on, and the invasive hum of grinding coffee did nothing to shield me from the awkward silence. So I summoned the best conversation my exhausted brain could muster. "You just passing through?" He didn't just turn his head to look at me. Instead, his entire body rotated to face me, and he repeated the same muted smile. His eyes were so piercing that mine instinctively looked away and back to the machine. "No, I'm on business." His voice sounded like silk. "Really? What kind of business brings you out here?" "Property disputes." "Oh, that's cool. Like real estate and stuff?" He blew air out of his nose with a light chuckle. Like real estate and stuff. His gaze turned to the shelves behind me. "Do you own this store, Liam?" he inquired. I quickly looked back at him. A look of confusion plastered across my face until I looked at my chest, remembering my name tag. His smile widened, still sealed by his lips. I let out an exasperated sigh and poured boiling water into the cup. "Not at all, sir. The owner barely comes in. I think he lives in Florida or something." "Oh, I see. Then what is your position exactly?" "I'm a shift lead, so basically a barista with keys that they let count money," I grinned. He nodded in understanding. There was something in how he talked. Even to this day, it makes me feel like he listened in a way no one else could. As if every conversation we had was the most important moment of his life. The machine let out a quiet hiss, followed by a sharp click. His drink had finished pouring. "Well, I hope you decide to visit us again while you're here." I pressed the lid onto his cup. "I'll absolutely be back. There isn't much in the way of good coffee around here." When his hand met mine to take the coffee, I almost recoiled at the feeling. His hands were like ice, a complete absence of warmth that felt like it would leave my fingers frostbitten. "Jesus, man, you need some gloves or something?" His smile didn't falter for a second. "I'm perfectly fine, Liam. That's what the coffee is for." As his body turned towards the exit, the first of my previously known Sunday regulars were walking through the door. Ruth Ann Huntsman, her 8-year-old daughter Bailey, and their terrier Jar Jar were shuffling in to get Bailey's weekly pre-church hot cocoa. The little girl immediately began staring at the man in the shameless, unblinking way that only kids can get away with. Her mother visibly struggled against doing the same, a double, triple, and quadruple take being shot at the gorgeous stranger. Jar Jar, however, didn't share their infatuation. He began barking and snarling at him. I had seen this trio every Sunday for my entire employment, and I had never heard the dog so much as sneeze. Now he seemed like he was going to pull Ruth Ann's arms off to get to him. She was apologizing profusely, attempting to assure him her dog never behaved like that. He didn't flinch, and the smile didn't fade from his face. He simply raised his hand, assured her it was all right, and stepped back out into the cold. From behind, I saw him exhale a cloud of frigid breath. He turned his head slightly, and even though I couldn't see his eyes, for a moment it felt as if the entire room was under that striking stare. Jar Jar whimpered and huddled close to his owner. She turned her apologies to me, but I waved them off. I knew this was unusual for him, and they've always been nothing but kind. Bailey seemed shaken as well, but I promised her I'd put extra cocoa in her drink, which caused her to promptly forget the entire thing. I would have forgotten too, had it not been for the week after. Another week of lattes and breakfast burritos had brought me to another crisp Sunday morning. The closers had neglected just about every responsibility they had, so I was sweeping crumbs off of the floor when he arrived again. I was facing away from the door when the bell went off, and I jumped at its ring. I spun to see the same half-smile and striking eyes I had seen last week. "Oh, it's you," I said, attempting to pretend he just startled me awake. "It's me," he chimed back, gliding to the register. "Sorry, it's taken me a while to get the store open today." "Why apologize?" he asked, with a sincerity that felt almost alien. "I'm sorry?" I instinctively questioned. "It's you, Liam. Why would you apologize?" Hearing my name gave me pause again. "It's just customer service talk, man. You get bitched at once, you learn to apologize. It's just the business," I said,
a confused look spreading across my face. "And are you happy in this business?" he asked, his smile twitching under his mustache. "What?" "This business, Liam. Are you happy here?" "No, man, it kinda sucks, but it's what pays my bills. It keeps a roof over my head. We can't all work in, what you say again, property?" The exhaustion of the morning sharpened my words. "Then what makes you happy, Liam?" "I would be the happiest I have ever been if you tell me what I can get for you," I stated flatly. His eyes seemed to widen for less than an instant, and the smile held firm. "Americano, 2 sugars, a large today. $2.60.
He handed me cash. I handed him his change and started the machine. Though I tried to ignore it, I could tell he hadn't taken his eyes off of me. "Would you like to know what makes me happy, Liam?" "I couldn't care less, dude." "Adam." "What?" "That's my name. You can use it." His voice deepened at these words. "Okay." "Freedom." "What?" I asked, the annoyance almost tangible. "Freedom makes me happy, Liam. The ability to do what you want when you want to do it. Freedom from stress and pain, from tyranny and oppression. That makes me happy." "Great, I hope you have fun with that." I placed a lid on his drink and slid it towards him. "No, Liam, you don't understand." He kept his focus locked on me. "I'm not talking about myself. I mean for everyone. You and every driver speeding past us. They're speeding towards what keeps them from that freedom. A job, a family, an obligation. It breaks my heart to think about it." I didn't know what to do, let alone what to say, so I shrugged. "That's life, man. Everyone's got to do what they got to do. Your heart can't break for everyone with a job. You won't have any heart left." He blinked at those words, which made me realize I couldn't think of the last time he had done so. "People deserve to be felt for, Liam. Everyone deserves freedom. It's a blessing everyone should experience." He trailed off, eyes gazing toward the rising sun. "Look, Adam," I started, mostly to fill the growing silence. "Your heart's in the right place. Nobody deserves to be put under anyone else's thumb, but the man is always looking to squash those under him." Adam looked up, then turned to me, his eyes brightening. "He sure is, Liam. See you next week." And with that, he grabbed his coffee and left, holding the door for Ruth Ann and Bailey on his way out. They looked disheveled, too much so to be on their way to church. Ruth Ann's hair was in knots, and Bailey's eyes were so puffy they looked ready to pop. She clutched a neon pink stuffed puppy with both arms and sniffled into the purple around its eyes as she followed her mom. Ruth pointed her to the pastry case and told her to pick out whatever she wanted, then meandered over to me. "Triple espresso, Liam, please. She's going to take a large hot chocolate with extra cocoa and whipped cream." She exhaled, her lack of sleep sagging under her eyes. "A large? It's not her birthday yet, is it?" I inquired, attempting a playful demeanor. "No, she's just had a rough couple of days. Jar Jar ran away and we've been up the past few nights looking for him. I had to tell her we couldn't look any more because we've both got blisters all over our feet." "Oh, Ruth, I'm so sorry. I know how much he meant to you." "She hasn't let go of Bubby since he went missing," she said, pointing to the toy. "I'm just happy knowing she has something for comfort right now. She's also got you, Ruth. I know you'll do everything you can to find him." "Thank you, Liam. That means a lot." She paid for their drinks, along with the chocolate croissant Bailey selected, and I did the best I could at conversing with them. As experienced as I am with small talk, nothing can train you to talk about missing pets to an 8-year-old at 5:30 in the morning. But when I handed them their drinks, I was shocked back awake when I looked back out the front window. Adam was standing across the street in front of the gas station. He looked like he could have been waiting for someone or finishing up a smoke break, but I don't think that was it. I couldn't entirely make it out from that distance, but I think he was looking back into the shop, looking at me, with the outline of a wide smile carved across his face. I thought about our conversation all week. I thought about what made me happy. We were slow all week, so I spent every morning losing myself, trying to come up with something that I got out of bed for. The last of my family died with Dad. The people around here are the type to have a pleasant conversation, but not those I'd want to be friends with. I never went to college, don't like drinking or getting high. I realized over that week that I was just alive, a body moving through space and nothing more. I was left with an all-encompassing feeling of emptiness that I had never experienced. I found myself in a quiet state of thought until Adam came back. Something was different about his third visit. I knew he was coming from the second I woke up, not in the same way that I know any other regular schedule. It was the same certainty I had that the sun was going to come up that day. There was a blizzard that morning. The snow was coming down so thick and fast that I could barely see through the doors. I could hear the wind tug at the brick walls, a maelstrom I had to fight through to make it to work, but that he wandered through as if it were a clear summer's evening. It sounded like the winds had calmed as soon as he entered the building. The noise of it was replaced by his wet footsteps making their way to the counter. His smile seemed deeper that day. I guessed his business had been going well. "And how are we today, Liam?" he asked, handing me $3 before I could get a word out. I rang in his coffee and gave him his change, each second an eternity as I mulled over what to say. Every bone in my body was pushing me towards a standard conversation, an all right or a good, words I could effortlessly say to any other person. Yet no matter how badly my brain yearned for normalcy, for the first time in my life, I couldn't. "Not great, Adam," I said, hesitantly. He tilted his head to the side, quizzically. He seemed to think that would be enough of a response. It was. "I've been trying to think about what makes me happy, like you said."
Adam nodded, his eyes locked in sympathetic focus. I couldn't. I tried, but I choked on my words. I wasn't going to cry in front of this man, and if I allowed myself to talk anymore, I might have. His smile shifted. Instead of the intently focused and kind look he came packaged with, it morphed into a knowing grin, as if he had felt exactly as I did his entire life and knew the perfect advice to give. He walked to one of the tables against the icy window, sat down at one of the chairs, and moved his hand toward the other one, gesturing for me to sit. My feet moved before I could tell them to. I sat across from him and looked sheepishly around the store as the howls of the storm battered the silence between us. "Can I let you in on a secret, Liam?" he posed. "Go for it. Every single human being feels the same way you do." "How so?" I questioned. "That emptiness you feel, the lack of drive or want, every other person feels that way." His eyes were soft, but stayed locked on mine. "But that's not true. Scientists, actors, politicians, important people with exciting things happening in their life have reasons to be happy. Hell, people with friends have reasons to be happy. At the very least, they want things," I said, my speech becoming quieter. I felt myself slouching as I went on. I must have looked pretty pathetic, but Adam's face never faltered in its kindness. "No, Liam, you're wrong. That's the trick power and success play on people, whether they experience it or not.
His gaze shifted out the window, but mine stayed on him. That hole in your heart is the same one a rich man fills with drugs, that scientists abate with a new project, that politicians quell with secrets. Humanity has given it many names: boredom, malaise, ennui, depression. They're all symptoms of stagnation. Whether you feel a sense of purpose beforehand, he paused, his eyes darting back to me for a moment, or not. People do things. They eventually don't like doing those things anymore. Then they either move on or wallow in it. It all culminates in the same thing: void. He stopped. He had turned back to me, inviting a response. What about freedom? That's what you said makes you happy. How does an absence of purpose fill that void? I was stuck feeling defensive. Everything he said sounded like he believed it, but that it was also custom-tailored to insult my existence. It's not the cure for it, Liam. It's what allows you to fight against it. The only way to fight against that feeling is to find and do what your fight is. Some people learn, some people fuck, some people sing. It's the freedom to do that I love, that I want for everyone. Some people want to hurt others, though, I interrupted, or take what's not theirs. I mean, some people want to die, Adam. Shouldn't they be allowed to? He said. I had thought his words sincere before, but this was beyond anything he had previously stated. With just one word, his sympathetic eyes turned to daggers. My body leaned away on its own, as if sensing a predator.
You said it yourself, Liam. You can't think of anything that could make you happy. Is there a point in continuing to live? Adam, what the fuck, man? I wasn't talking about me. How many cars pass by you every day? You could step in front of any one of them. I doubt the driver would even notice. The creases of his lips seemed to dig upward into his cheeks with each passing word. You've been confined to these four walls all week thinking about what you want, and you can't think of anything. If you don't want to die, you should. That's the freedom you require, Liam. He rose from his chair and seemed to tower above me. I tried to match his stance, but my legs shook underneath me. You gotta go, man. I don't ever want to see you in here again. Get it? I haven't gotten my coffee yet. His voice was ice now, colder than the tempest raging outside. Man, fuck your coffee. Get out or I'm calling the cops. How long would it take them to get here in this weather? How much longer do you want to talk? His eyes burned with joyful malice, like a demented child pulling the legs off of a bug. Or you could simply make me my Americano with two sugars. I got it, dude, whatever. I yelled at him, a mix of fear and anger twisting my stomach inside out. I pressed the button to start the machine. It takes 30 seconds for a shot to pour, and I spent every agonizing one staring into Adam's unblinking face. It didn't change, but the feeling I got while looking at it did. It was like I was trapped in a whirlpool, and its epicenter was flashing a smile at me and reaching for coffee with a lifeless hand. My grip was shaking beyond my control. I steadied the coffee into the cup and filled it once again with boiling water. I tried to secure the lid on top and push the cup towards him, but the adrenaline his words had stitched into my veins made me slip. The cup tilted and splashed across the counter. Steam rose from the granite like a hot spring. Half of the drink splashed back onto me and made me immediately pull back in pain. Half of the drink coated Adam's hand, but he didn't react. His hand should have felt like it was on fire. He should have crumpled to the floor, but his body stayed still as a statue. His smile widened across his face. I hadn't realized before, but I had never seen his teeth before. They were perfectly straight, as they were pristine white, but their creeping exposure made me think I was looking at
10 rows of shark teeth. No, maybe more like tiger teeth. Or, now that I think about it, long and spindly like an eel's. To be honest, I can't remember anything other than how perfect they were and how kind he still looked. Your father was right about you, Liam. I only realized I had been backing up when my hands met the counter behind me. You're nothing but a lazy, good-for-nothing, ugly, selfish, whiny, spineless, worthless cunt. And the only thing that would make him more miserable than he is now is if he were alive to see what you've devolved into.
His hand was dripping in steaming coffee. It held as motionless as the rest of his body. It was just his face that morphed into those words. There was nowhere to run. I had nothing to defiantly yell back and no balls to start swinging fists, so I yelled the only words I could think of. Fuck you, man! Go to hell!
I'm already there, Liam. Nothing but cracking foundations and assistant general managers as far as the eye can see. There has never been a greater collection of cultureless drab than these off-ramp wastelands, and I intend to see every single one. Every soul squandering what little life they have to live, a meaningless life, Liam. He actually choked on his words, crying. His face looked the same as someone seeing their firstborn child or a perfect sunset. And as the moisture collected across the bottom of his eyelashes, I swear they were tinted red. It reminds me why it's worth living. Something you people will never know. Goodbye, Liam. With that, he was gone. His words buried themselves into my thoughts like nails. None of my regulars showed up, and I had never been more thankful to make no money. I replayed the scene again and again throughout the day. I don't think I moved for hours, only breaking my disassociation when the closers came. They told me I looked awful, and I felt as much. I sat in my car for a while. The freezing interior would have had me shaking any other day, but the repeating shock locked me in place. I've always been excited to hit the road after a shift, but I didn't want to go home. I knew I'd be sitting alone, watching TV or playing video games in silence, stewing in what he said. I tried to come up with any place I could go to talk to someone. Eventually, I started up my busted sedan and drove to the only thing I could think of. There's one church in this town, a modest Baptist parish stained with splitting white paint that stays open most hours of most days. I hadn't been since I was 12. I don't mind any of the God people I grew up around, but I never believed in any of it. It was the middle of the afternoon when I made it to the chapel, and to my surprise, the parking lot was filled with cars. I had expected a few, but it seemed from the outside like Sunday morning mass was still in full swing. Though I wasn't excited to be around a lot of people with how I felt, I knew the more people I was around, the less I'd be trapped with my own thoughts. As I parked, something about the cars stopped feeling normal. They all looked like they had been there for a while. The snow had been falling all morning, but every car was almost submerged, as if they had all been there since the previous week's blizzard. Locks looked to be frozen over, windows and windshields were completely blanketed. I felt my socks get wet as my work shoes slipped through the layers of snow over the parking lot. With every step closer to the church, the sound of a harmonic chorus grew over the wind that tugged at my ears. It wasn't a hymn or any song that I recognized. It was a single chord that began as one tone and built as I approached. The doors had a layer of ice frozen into the joints, as if it was trying to crawl its way in. I wrapped my hand around the wrought iron handles and pushed. The ensemble on the other side swelled as I pushed again and again, louder and louder. I barely noticed its growth as frustration caused me to kick the door.
Determined, I took a step back and lunged at the icy wood with all my strength. The only reason I'm still here to write this is because the decorative handle ripped through my jacket and caught it at the shoulder. The door gave in, and I flew through the entrance to see nothing beneath me. The church floor and anything that had been on it were gone. A pit stretched through the whole building, framed by scraps of hardwood that clung to the old walls.
The bricks that made up the walls crumpled into the frozen dirt that lined the edges of the crevasse. The black void sat, mouth open, ready to swallow me up if my jacket ripped, and the ice that broke away from the door didn't make any noise as it descended into the dark. The cord had ceased, devoured by the hole. The only thing filling its place was the echo of wind chasing me from outside. I frantically maneuvered to swing my legs back to solid ground. It wasn't graceful, and I'm sure I made a lot of embarrassing noises. But after a minute, I was on all fours, and after a few more, I was able to look back into the church, into the waiting jaws that nearly took me. In my panic, I hadn't realized how cold it was. I was on my hands and knees, covered in ice and snow, yet I felt the cavern more. It felt like the heat of my body was being siphoned from under my coat and spilt into the dark. I also noticed the interior of the door as it swung back and forth, dangling on a single hinge. It was covered in scratch marks and dried blood. They dragged down the wood, staining it all the way down to where it would have joined the floor, if there was any more floor to join. Confusion and fear left me frozen more than the cold. I snapped out of it and sprinted to my car when I spotted something in the hole. It was on the edge of where I could see and where light completely faded. I saw something clinging to the earthen walls of the hole. There, snagged on a jagged bit of rock, was a bright pink stuffed puppy with purple spots around its eyes. A sinkhole. A freak but explainable incident. That's what the police are calling it. They're still working on the full count of people that were there, but they told me they had already received several missing person reports the week leading up to me showing them the church. Apparently, they've called in professionals to survey the bottom and look for survivors, but I think they have a better chance of finding Santa down there. That's if they can even find a bottom at all. I haven't been to work since then. Seeing that right after Adam's advice has really gotten to me the past few days. I can't stop thinking about how those people are just gone, eaten by the earth, erased from existence, and no one knew until I had a spontaneous need for community. I think about Ruth Ann and Bailey. A mother and child were gone for a week, and the world kept spinning as it had. You'd think time would stop if something like that happened, but when they didn't come in, I didn't think twice about it. It makes me wonder if I was there when they all went under. Would anyone notice? Someone else would serve coffee to all of the random Johns and Janes passing through, all while I'm digested by the cold. How many bodies are in that hole that no one will miss? Not knowing that makes me feel worse. Something has to change. I have to get out of this town and go somewhere. But I worry that it won't be enough. I'll still be a nobody. I'll just be surrounded by more people. I have to find something I want, a reason to get out of bed or simply justify my existence. I'm terrified that if I don't, he'll show back up again. Maybe he'll put me in the hole next. I really hope if he does, that someone will miss me.